Let me put it this way. For me personally, sports allowed me a tertiary education. I was awarded a track and field scholarship to Adelphi University in 1976, and that afforded me to go to university and attain my bachelor's in physical education. And now we have that door opened back in the 60s. It has opened even wider. There are other doors being opened. We have now not only track and field, but we have volleyball, basketball, swimming. We have people going off to England for cricket. You know, so we have there are lots of avenues have been opened to us here in the Caribbean and specifically to Barbados. Sports brings a certain discipline, a loyalty it brings that discipline from inside. It teaches you loyalty to your team, teamwork. The things that we day to day you might not be recognized. What it is might not be important to some people, but the importance is there. And you know, one of the things is it also teaches you. I should say it teaches you. You should teach you to be humble. You should be humble, but you know, of course, it's not that way with everyone.
Expand on that, please.
No, I think one of my things is that you are humble in your victory, gracious, and even in your defeat, you are still gracious in that defeat. So that should extend then to your day-to-day living.
All avenues of living.
Transfer to your day-to-day living. When you're on the field, you know, as the saying goes, you know, you have no friends. You leave that friendship off the field, off the track. But once that event is over, that friendship is restored.
Yes.
Yeah. In 1980, when I joined the staff, I think that I had my female counterpart, Eleanor Dotting. We kind of had the same vision, which was to raise Combermere track and field. When I was at school, we would, Harrison College Lodge, you know, they would always be the top two. Sometimes we might get ahead of Coach Parry or Foundation, sometimes not. But we had the mission that we will get Combermere track to where it should be, where it belongs. We thought that we should be rivaling Harrison College and the lodges, and you know, so we went about doing that. I think the thing about it is that everybody, the whole Combermere community bought into it. Everybody was on board. The staff administration was on board, the staff was on board, the students came on board, and even the students that didn't make the team, we still had some students who felt part of the team. So everyone was on board, everyone wanted to see us do well. And the kids really spared they didn't quarrel, they did not back away, they did not shy away. They too wanted to be successful, and they worked at it, and they would. You could arrange a session in the morning with some kids, and they'll be there at lunchtime, after school, those in the sixth form, if they have off periods. It was there, and they were motivated. Yeah, and the good thing about it is that when we had at the beginning of the school year, and those students would come into the first form, you know, automatically, you know, they just bought into it as well. They just got on board. So even though we might have an outstanding athlete coming into the first form, we might have the one that you might not have heard about at the primary school level, but that athlete, then that person would develop, and you can see the development going through right through the school. So I think it was a whole community effort. So it wasn't that, you know, all about we going out there and we're going to train, but everybody thought. And the other thing about it being your brother's keeper, your sister's keeper, we really preach that to them, because if an athlete seemed to be not pulling his weight before it got to myself or one of the other teachers, the students themselves dealt with it. You know, they would talk to their teammate, you know, and remind them of their responsibilities. Competition has now broadened. It has grown, and I think more schools are paying a lot more attention to athletics, and which I like. I like that competition. Gone are the days, as we were saying earlier, gone are the days when, excuse me, when a Combermere athlete or a Harrison College athlete go on the track and the other athletes are trying to fight for the places behind them. Gone are those days, which is very good for the country in particular. But we now cannot roll over and play dead. We have got to keep on fighting. We have got to get back to where we were. Gone are the days when you think that only those children who are not bright can do sports. You know, and as I alluded to earlier, we're having now a lot of people going to get in athletic scholarships.
Yes.
And the reason is that they have qualified academically to get into a university. So the myth is, and I repeat, it's a myth, you know, so that only that bright people cannot do sports, or people who are not bright are the ones who do sports. Not at all. And I'll say too that in my time here, those students who always excel academically invariably participated in at least one sport, sometimes more than one. You know, when I came to Combermere in 1966, my very first sports day, I was in lower first then, and there was a Division 5, and we ran, I think it was an 80 and a 150, and I think it was yards in those days. Yes, it was yards in those yards, and I won them both in my division, and I was a Division 5 champion. However, back in the 60s, every Barbados boy liked cricket. And so I took to cricket and played some football. Track kind of went on the back burner. I would still compete and participate in the school sports, never missing in the school sports, competing in the school sports every year. Then I continued with cricket. Actually, I was cricket captain between 1972 and 1974, my last 2 years in school. And I played football, got into hockey. But in 1974, I was having had a little success in the school sports, in various divisions and in various events, and in the sort of sprints, 400, long jump, high jump. You know, I did just every event in my career in the school sports.
Right.
In 1974, I remember I somehow decided, you know, I'm gonna be a little more focused on athletics. That year I went on and I won the 400 meters at inter-school sports. I won a number of 400 meters throughout that year, but the one that I really messed up on was the junior championships, national junior championships, and which corrected trials. I ran the poorest race I ran that particular year, but I was still fortunate enough to make the Carifta team. After I ran that poor 400 meters race, I was still selected for the Carifta Games and in Jamaica, and I was very disappointed I did not get to run the 400 meters, even though I had been really the dominant person throughout the year. But that one race caused me to lose out on that. But I did run the 400 meters, 4x400 meters relay, and we became second, which was, you know, very good for the team. You know, I was happy, and at least I got to run, and I was able to medal. You know, so it started from there really. I left school in 1974, but I continued my training, of course being with and you know, with not a full view, not a full focus on the Olympic Games, but with it in the back of my mind, being encouraged by people like Frank Blackman, who was my coach. Yes, Justin Clark, another coach, and Tony Lovell. And these were the people who kind of pushed me in terms of track and field to further my career. So I continued to train. In December 1974, I went to the first Junior CAC Games in Venezuela, and I got a silver medal in the 400 meters and a bronze medal in the 4x400 meters relay. And in fact, that relay, we did not have I was the only 400 meter person. So we had, no, we had two 400 meter people, but we had in the relay, two genuine 400 meter people. Yeah. We had a hurdler, and we had a 800, 1500 person. But we were all there, so Coach Blackman decided we're going to run this relay. And we were still able to come third, and with the likes of the teams included, Cuba and Trinidad, Venezuela itself, Mexico, Jamaica. So it was a really, really good performance by that particular team. The more I competed, the more then that the Olympics was looking at reality. Yes. And kept on being pushed to it and working towards it.
Who was coaching you at this point?
Frank Blackman. Yeah. And we had trials, lots of trials, and eventually, I was selected on the team. I did not meet the qualifying time, but I was part of the relay team, the 4x400 meters relay team, which went up to Montreal. We finished like 5th or 6th in our heat. I think we were either the 9th or 10th fastest team. But whereas we had a good nucleus, but there was we had the person who started the relay for us was not a 400 meter runner, and I think that really ruined our chances. We eventually, I think we beat Russia that year in that heat, but we did not qualify. Yeah. And I think because I remember running the second leg, and when after the first 100 meters and I'm on the back straight, I'm looking down the back straight and I'm seeing the leader, who was Trinidad, heading into the other turn. So we were that far behind after the start. So we actually lost at the start of the event. So whereas the remaining three were trying to catch up, when you get to that level, it's difficult to catch up. You hardly ever catch up at that level. I went to my first inter-school sports in 16 years, 17 years this year. And whereas when I was overseas, I always followed inter-school sports, followed the fortunes of Combermere. I would check in and see how things are going, preparation is going, etc. And I seen it then this year. It was disappointing. I know in my time it was unheard of for Combermere to be out of the top 3, and just girls and boys. And for us, I think this year we was like 5th and 7th or something like that, 5th and 6th. That is for me. That is uncharted territory. Not been there. So it was disappointing. But there's talent. There's obvious talent in the school. And I said there was a young lady who ran in Division 3, 100 and 200 meters and won easily. And I was told that's her. She's a first year under 15, so next year she's back in the same division. So we look to see good things, better things from her next year. There was a young lady, Akelia Knight, in Division 1, and she won the 800 and the 1500, and I think she placed in the 400 as well. But that's a talent there, and the way she ran, I thought that, with some more work, this girl is a potential medalist at Carifta Games. I thought that she looked to me, she looked a little short of work, that she could have had some more preparation, and very strong, but I think she needed that. She lacked that little bit of speed that would have given her that boost to qualify her for Carifta Games, and I'm sure that with that preparation she would have medaled at Carifta. And I'm hoping that next year, that we can see that preparation going in with her, and we can go further. I think like I said earlier, I think we have to get that buy-in from everyone. Everybody, this entire community, everybody has to be on board, on the same page. But my time in Kima was quite good. I did quite a bit in terms of in curriculum work in the primary schools. When I went there, I was part of a group that reformed the primary school curriculum. And in sports, we also had our primary schools sports competitions. That is the biggest thing in the Cayman Islands, sporting events, or the inter-primary school sports in Cayman Islands, the biggest sporting event in the Cayman Islands. And I was the meet manager for that for my stay there. Kind of reformed that, brought that to a level where well, introducing electronic timing and computerized the whole event, so that, you know, really gearing children for preparing them for, you know, competition later on in life, you know. Yeah. So, you know, it was a complete, a lot of work trying to get that to a level. Of course, did a lot of training with athletes and officials to get that officiating to a certain level too, so that you can have a core of officials that we can call on to officiate at inter-primary school sports, the local meets, you know, and so on. And I'm going to touch on not only from the teachers who influenced me, but also there were some seniors who influenced me. I remember coming into Lower Forest, and my first set captain was Maurice Clark, and he pushed me for the couple of years that he was at school. He was still here, and he pushed me in my early development. I remember playing cricket, and in those days, Winslow, Ashby, and Ricky Craig, they were the household names in cricket in Barbados. You know, great opening partnership. And I remember every boy that played cricket at Combermere in those days wanted to be an Ashby or a Craig, you know. I also remember Orlando Greens, my close friend, and people would say my brother, who, you know, in terms of athletics, everybody wanted to be an Orlando Green, you know. So these are people who in terms of sports, you know, wanted that you looked up to. In the teachers now, you find there are people. You find there Colonel Maynard, Dr. Maynard. He was very influential in my development and my encouragement, and he's the one that encouraged me to come back to Barbados, and influential in my landmark post here at Combermere. And then there are the likes of Keith Roach, Spoonie, who was passed on, and Keith King, KK, who my father, my fathers, like I said, they both were, they passed on, and, you know, I think they've really shaped my career, helped me to shape my career from young, as a young graduate and a young teacher here. And then, of course, there was Charlie Pilgrim, another one who was principal after Mr. Moore. So these are the ones who really helped me very much in my career as a teacher.
Ladies and gentlemen, Combermerians all, I invite Mr. Winsmore Humphrey to read the citation. Harcourt Wason.
After primary education at St. Paul's and St. Giles, Harcourt Wason really began his education for life at Combermere School in 1966. Though he officially left school 8 years later, like most who have sipped the water, he has to this day continued a life-changing and life-defining relationship with the vine that is Combermere, to which most of us gathered here tonight are branches, with no desire ever to be severed. I make no apologies for the mixed metaphors. From early, Harcourt was blessed by the Almighty with both athletic talent and intellectual capacity, which gifts he has nurtured and shared with others to this day. He flourished as athlete and leader at Combermere, and by his graduation year, Harcourt was valedictorian and captain of the athletics team. He was also cricket captain of the school's team in the intermediate division, as well as being a member of the hockey team. All of this would later translate into an athletic scholarship to Adelphi in 1976, whence he graduated with the BSc in Physical Education in 1980. Harcourt has had an impressive career in track and field, his primary discipline, both as athlete and official. His honors include, in 1974 at the Clifton Games in Jamaica, he was silver medalist in the 4x4 relay. 1974 as well, in the Junior CAC Athletic Championships, he won silver medal in the 400 and bronze in the 4x4 relay. The following year, in the Clifton Games in Bermuda, he was a triple silver medalist in the 400 meters, the 4x4, and the 4x1 relay as well. In the period 1979 to 1980, he was an All-American in the 4x100 meters relay team at Adelphi. He also represented Barbados, as we've heard, in the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal in the 4x4 relay. With regard to his certification, Harcourt holds levels 1, 2, and 3 coaching certificates of the International Association of Athletic Federations, the IAAF. He is also a certified level 1 coaching instructor, and he as well as holding level 1 for officiating the IAAF. In the period from 2000 to the present, he is also a course conductor in the Caribbean Coaches Certification Program. As an official, he has served as a member of the Executive Committee of the Cayman Islands Athletic Association in 2007, and between 2008 and 2012, he was first Vice President of the Cayman Islands Athletic Association. Beginning in 2007, he has at various times been track referee, starts referee, and competition director at sundry Caribbean Games in Turks and Caicos, in St. Kitts, in Cayman, in Bermuda, as well as in Martinique. Between 2001 and 2009, he was the coach manager to various Cayman Island track teams. And in the entire period, 1998 to 2012, he was the meet manager for the Cayman Islands Primary School Athletic Championships. In earlier times, between 1993 and 1997, Harcourt was also the coach manager to various Barbados junior track teams, including in 1997, and a Barbados team won a total of 33 medals. And I believe that's the most ever achieved at the Caribbean Games by a Barbados team. In between all of this track and field activity, Harcourt also found time to be a long-standing member of the Barbados national hockey team. And in 1982, he was the player as well as the trainer of the Barbados team, which won the bronze medal at the Central American and Caribbean Games. This was the very first time that a Barbados hockey team had ever medaled at a major multi-team event. In the period 1981 to 1992, he served as trainer to the Barbados Hockey Federation's men's, junior, and senior teams. He was also for many years captain of the Combermere School of Scholars hockey team, and he also served for some years on the board of the Barbados Hockey Federation. His other sporting discipline is cricket, and Harcourt is well qualified in this area as well. He holds the West Indies Cricket Board Level 1 and Level 2 coaching certifications. Between 1985 and 1997, he also served as a member of the BCA's Under 15 committee. And for the 10 years, 2002 to 2012, he was on the youth coaching committee in the Cayman Islands Cricket Association. So as you can see, he pursued his cricket in both countries. In professional life as an educator, Harcourt spent 17 years at Combermere, where he served with distinction for many years as head of the physical education department. In 1997, seeking fresh challenges, he migrated to Cayman and spent 19 years in the education department there, followed by a 2-year spell as program manager in that territory's Children and Family Services Department. Thereafter, Harcourt returned to Barbados in late 2012 to be Leisure Services Manager at Fairmont Royal Pavilion, a position he still holds. David didn't tell me I'd be missing the slides. Those of you who know Harcourt well will also know that apart from his involvement in education and sports, he has a very, very deep interest in the cultural life of the communities in which he lives. Of course, I'm trying to be delicate here. Harcourt likes to eat, drink, and be merry. To this end, his community service includes being a committee member and judge of the Cayman Carnival Batabanu, which he served in 2004 to 2007. In Barbados, he was, as some of you know, the band leader of the Barclays Kadooment Band in 92. And from 94 to 2000, he was the band leader of the Cascaways Kadooment Band. Finally, let me say that in family life, one may say that Harcourt is probably a subscriber to the aphorism that the apple ought never to fall very far from the tree. For his son Dwayne followed him to Combermere and to the Combermere School of Scholars hockey team as well. And he's currently a valued member of the Barbados national hockey team. Now, if you know also that he is also my godson, you would know that the poor boy didn't have a chance. Had no hope. Combermere School and the Combermere School of Scholars Association, on behalf of the entire Combermere worldwide fraternity, are proud therefore to recognize and honor Harcourt Reginald Wason, outstanding alumnus, scholar, teacher, athlete, hockey junkie, coach, manager, mentor, bon vivant, community organizer, winner, exemplar, Combermerian, Harcourt Wason.
I now invite Harcourt Wason to stand and receive the instruments of his investiture.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to ask you to stand as we toast Harcourt. Harcourt.
Thank you. I now invite our newest inductee into our Blue Ribbon Hall of Fame, the Harcourt Wason, to respond.
Good night. I do not see this as honor. My honor was going to come here in 1966. This is humbling, and it is truly appreciated. And I thank the Combermere School of Scholars, Madam President, thank you, and your committee. And for those who think that I deserve it, I thank you. Immensely. My journey to Combermere started at St. Paul's, as Ms. said, and then I thought that was the best school. Then in 1963, things changed, and they went from St. Paul's Grammar School to St. Paul's Girls' School. So the boys had to leave. And back then, the choices, coming from Britain Hills, the choices were very limited. So it was either Bay Primary, or back in those days, you call it Bay Street, and did not have a good reputation. So many people from the Britain Hills area did not want to go to Bay Street. So the other choice was St. John's. And my, I hear St. John's voices. My mother then, in Britain Hills, back then was a real close-knit neighborhood. And we had a neighbor who was going to who went to St. John's. And my mother thought, that I should follow him to St. John's. And therefore, I went on to St. John's. And I must say that this young gentleman has done very well for himself, albeit that he went to the other place. But I have to go black, so I did not follow him there. I went there, of course. Here I am. Back in those days, too, we had what we refer to as a screaming test. So, as David said, we were in lower 1C. So having gone into lower first, we had the opportunity to do it a second time. And my mother insisted that I do it, the exam a second time, to try to get to that place. I've heard stories where our contemporaries had similar experiences, and they say they were making the exam, and they do nothing at all. They were quite happy where they were. I'm not going to say I was one of those, but suffice to say, here I am tonight being recognized by University of Waterford. I had a great time at Combermere as a student. I enjoyed every moment of it, and the Lord and see boys. And actually, last night at the reunion, had a great time with some of my fellow 1966 people who went to Combermere in 66, and had a great time. We enjoyed ourselves. But coming through school, experience is great. Enjoyed it. Played a lot of cricket and football and all such like. I think in 1971 or 72, when into 70 or 71, went into full form. Back then, on Friday afternoons, you had a choice of cadets. This is the last 2 periods after that. 2 periods after that. You have a choice of cadets. Back then, as you would say, games, scouts, whatever. But before that, we had a a young gentleman who had just left school and taught us in third form, a guy by the name of Jeffrey Seeley, who was a cadet under officer. So he came back to teach us. And while teaching us in third form, he drafted a whole lot of the third formers into the cadets. I was quite enjoying the cadets. Until I got to fourth form, I had to choose between cadets and their games. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, sports was always in my life, and I enjoyed it then. So, hence my career to form. Now, while leaving Combermere, I went to university and had the privilege of offering an athletic scholarship into university. And I remember in my first semester at university, and here's a group of young athletes, a few from the Caribbean, Latin America, a few Black Americans, and we do this physical education course. So we had to do this in a term paper, so I did the paper and submitted, and the professor met with all the students to discuss the paper and their grade. So when he came to me, he said something that was very disturbing to me. He said, Harcourt, I was quite surprised and impressed with your writing. I said, what do you mean? He said, your paper was excellent writing. And I said, sir, I am from Barbados, where we have a 98% literacy rate. And furthermore, I went to Combermere. I don't think he really understood what he called me a problem. I had to get it in. So my 4 years back, they were going by fairly quickly, and I remember at the end of my third year, I'm deciding what I want to do. Do I want to go to graduate school? Do I want to come back to Barbados? What do I do in terms of my future? And I would always be in contact with the colonel. So I was back in Barbados at the end of my third year. So I got 1 more year to go. So I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. So the colonel said, boy, come back. Then I come back, he said, I'm going to arrange meeting with you with Mr. Moore, Bumpy, as we know him. So I'm going to school one evening and met with Mr. Moore and gone into the office, trying to work out how I can get this job as a physical education teacher at Combermere. So I went in the office, I sat with Mr. Moore, and he talked to me for about 3 hours. And on leaving the office, I was no closer to the job than when I went in. But that was the nature of Mr. Moore. However, I went back to college, spent my last year, and still in contact with Colonel Maynard. And at the end of I graduated, he said, Harcourt, come back. Come back. We got to find something for you. So I come back to Barbados. While there was no physical education job at Combermere, I think that the foresight was that something might be coming up sooner or later. Sooner rather than later. So I come back to Barbados, I think it was a Friday afternoon, and the Sunday morning, a high-profile team turned up Barbados. Colonel Maynard, Spoon Roach, KK, Charlie Pilgrim, Phil Branch, Carol Lee. So you talk about me, who was here? So, but the younger ones, pardon me, but the older ones don't understand what I'm talking about. So, fellas stared at me and said, all right, Court, we're going to find you a job. So they took me down to Warren Thompson, who was the principal at St. James Secondary, the then St. James Secondary. And there was possibility of a job at St. James Secondary. So at least spoke and tried to get something worked out. So anyway, went home this Sunday evening after a long day, a lot of talk, and a lot of talk. Anyway, I gone back home, and the next morning, I I get a call. Harcourt, don't go anywhere. Come to Combermere. What happened all of a sudden? Come to Combermere. I don't know. Why come to Combermere? So I go on to Combermere the next morning. I said, "Boy, we got a job for you." I said, what happened? He said, "Listen, we have a vacancy." Anybody been mentioned education? I'm going to bring some tears over school now. But then again, statutes of limitations have run up, so we all say it. So we got a job for you. I said, "Job? I've been waiting 24 hours. I said, "No, we have a vacancy for a home ec teacher." So, you remember sometime back in the 80s, it was talking about backdoor students. You remember that? So I was a backdoor teacher. I was truly backdoor. So I went in and I did I didn't do the home ec. That was fine with me, but I didn't do the home ec, but I did some science and some phys ed until eventually Harcourt Wason took up a post in British High Commissioner, and I maintained as a physical education teacher. And I enjoyed every minute of it. During that time, as mentioned in my means one citation, but it was we struggled a bit in our sports. And I remember coming to Combermere as a teacher, and I tried to put in some coaching in every area. Track is my forte. Hockey, I had a little talent. Cricket, I love, and I had a little ability with that one as well. But while in college, I did some basketball, volleyball, etc. So when I came back to Combermere, I took up the coaching in track, cricket, football, basketball, etc. And at some point I realized that this isn't working, not working. So then we tried to engage individuals to coach in the areas. We tried to specialize in coaching. So today when you see Combermere with a cricket teacher, a cricket coach, I'm not going to call him a cricket teacher, a cricket coach. This is the way that we need to go. So having come back and strengthen all these areas, and you're a jack of all trades, you're not mastering any really. And so you try to farm out the sports and try to get people coming to coach in the various areas. And you always see the success of those teams that had the coaches, that had the individual coaches. And if you can think back and look back in the 80s and 90s, when we were so dominant in volleyball, because we had Corinne is here somewhere tonight. Corinne, take a bow, please. Want to recognize Corinne? Corinne took the volleyball team, so that was taken care of. And Combermere was always dominant in hockey. Colonel, he took the hockey team. So eventually, we were able to get people to come in and do some work. Unfortunately, it was not, the pay was so small. If you're doing it for the love of it. It's basically a volunteer. You're basically volunteering and say, well, take a little stipend. But being there and went up for track and field, I thought that this is the area that I want to spend my time. Sorry for the other areas. My students, my former athletes, but I took on the track because it is in me, like I said, that jump track is that anybody, you don't need any equipment, all you need is 2 legs, you don't need a body, you need some heart. You need some heart for it. And try to instill that into our students. You need a heart to go out there and fight and beat the colleges and the lodges and these other people. And we were successful in it. I have somebody that is so good. There you go, Andrea Asia, and my other people. But I say to, I remember saying to some of my students that, the athletes, I said to them in our glory days, you know, this really is not, I have the knowledge. I can teach it to you, I can impart my knowledge to you, I can show you, I can train you. By the end of the day, you as an individual have to be able, you have to want to do it. You have to be motivated enough to go there and want to do it badly enough for us to be successful. And I think everyone wanted it. And that's the reason we were really successful back in those early days. And it was not just a track and field thing, it was a community effort. It was the administration, it was the staff, it was all the students, everyone decided that they must have a part. There were times we had students who were not necessarily athletes, but they said, you know something, we are weak in a particular area, so therefore I think I'm able to do something in that area, and they were able to do it. So this is what we really thought of Combermere spirit. This is the kind of things that we talk about. I don't want to ramble, I don't want to get carried away, but I need to acknowledge a few people. And then I'm going to start with my people that have really mentored me. And tonight here I have Mrs. Larry here. Mrs. Larry, Mrs. Larry, where are you? Over here. One of my teachers and eventually colleagues, Mrs. Java Singh. Mrs. Hilton. Of course, Colonel. Colonel, you must stand. You recognize. Stand, you recognize. And the other people that have been very influential in my life, we mentioned earlier, Keith Lords, Tony, and KK, my father, the ones that who held me under their wings, and Brendan. They're the ones that took me under the wing and guided me in my early days. I must say that we really did talk a lot about life and teaching, you know, my career. So I really appreciated the things that these folks have done for me over the years. And on Wednesday, when I spoke to the students, I mentioned a number of other I mentioned a number of other Combermere, and I'm going to call them icons as well. Maybe for those who were at school in my time, we remember the Ritas and Beefers and Daisies, and you know, these are people who sold stuff inside the school and fed many a boy. You know, there were people who were as much responsible for the success of people like myself and David and those myself that have done that in school. They really contributed. So you know, so we don't do it on our own. There are obviously people that guide you and hold your hand and take you along and show you the as I said earlier, this is a humbling experience for me to join the likes of Sir Les and Royal Ranker, Keith Simmons, and Pollard, the Dean, Basil himself, Anton Norris. I've seen a few other, I think I missed one or two. I think Leonard, I think he was one, yes. I'm not sure I did come. Anyway, I might not miss one or two. Yeah, a lot of you are here, but whoever you are, and it's right here in front of me. So, you know, I'm really honored and humbled to be in your esteemed company. I'm not going to get emotional, but it is a time where you feel appreciated by everyone. You don't go out there trying to be appreciated. I'm not a Facebookie, but I have been sent some comments that people have said, and I must say to you that it's some comments, some things that people wrote, you know, about me, you know, what I've done for them, and I was like, I did that, you know. So at least something that I have done has impacted on other people, and I'm truly happy that I can do something like that. Surprised you told me I had 15 minutes on Wednesday, right? But that is the time limit tonight. Okay, so anyway, I also want to say I have a group of people here that have come to celebrate with me, my family and close friends, right here in these 3 little tables here. Everybody stand up, please. Stand up, these 3 little tables. My family, close friends, thank you all. The grants. Monica, Liza up here, Kenny and Mr. Elmo, my sister Marva, Wendy, the Suttles, the Lanes, the Woods, Mike, my good friend, and who has done a great job at Combermerians. Thank you all for being here. And I want to say, Peter, before you go, all right, so I want to mention these are, I want to mention people like Peter and Colonel Boston, can I call him Jeffrey? No. Colonel Boston MP. Mark and Ricky, the lot that, these are Suzette and Andrea, the lot in front of me, Donnie. Every some people, but I mean, these are the ones, students that I have, you know, I have been able to impart some things to that have always shown that appreciated me. Thank you, and I could not do it without you. If you weren't there, I would not have been here tonight. Right? Thank you all. So, once again, I appreciate this honor, and it is really moving that I can be recognized in such a way by the Combermere School of Scholars and Combermere family, and I wish nothing but the best for the school. I am 150% Virgin. I will never be like that, but you know the Combermere thing, we're high. We're right behind it, so I am a true Combermerian, and I will be a Combermerian until the day we die. And even beyond. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Up and on, Harcourt. Up and on. I now wish to invite our principal, the Beer Parish, to move the vote of thanks.
Master of Ceremonies, President of the Combermere School of Scouts Association, Mrs. Sharon Lucas Blackman, Deputy President of the Senate, Dean Emeritus Harold Critchlow, Chairman Board of Management, Combermere School, Mrs. Jessica Brownlee, Deputy Principal, Mrs. Beverly Nevitt Lashley, Honorees, Mr. Victor Pilgrim and Mr. Harcourt Wason, narrators, Mr. Hal Gollop and Mr. Winslow Humphrey, Member of Parliament, Colonel Bostic, Past Chairman, Mr. Peter Harris, members of the Blue Ribbon class, legends, Sir Wes Hall and Mr. Robert Ranker, President of the PTA, Mr. Robert Sobers, distinguished guests, members of the media. It is a great delight to express appreciation and offer heartfelt thanks to the many persons who have made this momentous occasion so very special and indeed memorable. Madam President, You have had not only a profound impact on the proceedings throughout Combermere Week, tonight being no exception, but you seem to have had a rather syrupy effect on our MC, David. I watched his eyes stare and then blink with a rapidity, as though he was afraid to let them close for too long, as he observed you while adulating about your fine touch and unfinished work in this association. Your welcome remarks certainly made us feel that we were a part of a great organization, filled with hope and excitement for an even brighter future. The ancients, especially those of Rome, would have felt at home as prayers were offered up, as Pope Pius would have done. Thank you, Dean Emeritus Harold Critchlow, for reminding us that God hears our prayers in any language. Our honorees, Victor and Harcourt, thank you for accepting our request to honor you. Your very many years of service to Combermere have been distinguished by excellence of the highest order. Victor, in producing generations of outstanding musicians and citizens. Harcourt, in producing outstanding athletes and the citizens of this country. To our narrators, who read the citations, Mr. Hal Dollop and Mr. Lismore Humphrey, thank you for performing this great honor. It is ironic that both Hal and Lismore were classmates at Combermere, but neither knew that the other was performing this particular role this evening. Thank you for your insights into the lives of these honorable gentlemen. Thanks to Mr. Tony Cave, who interviewed our honorees and enabled us to have a deeper appreciation for that which motivated our honorees and made them who they are. We are certainly appreciative of the videography of Mr. Ian Innes and the technical assistance of Mr. John Bryan and Mr. Mark Howard. Thank you, gentlemen. To our Chairman, Board of Management, Mrs. Jessica Brown, thank you for your commitment of the board to the continued development of this great school and for your kind comments as you replied to the toast. This evening, from our arrival, we were greeted with the strains of beautiful music which arrested our ear. We thank Dwayne Gill and Farrakhan Stevens for that wonderful, welcoming music. The banquet hall, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you would agree, reverberated with the harmonious sound of a well-trained band called the Waterford Music and Cultural Society. This society has made an indelible mark so far in its short history on the landscape of Combermere and is destined to have a far-reaching impact and effect on the Barbadian society. Thank you, Purnell and the WMCS for thrilling us this evening. Melanie Hines is an upcoming songstress. She's also an instrumentalist, playing the violin and the flute. This evening, we were treated to her jazz rendition, a sample of the wealth of music that will emanate from her in the future. Thank you, Melanie. To the staff of Hilton, Barbados, thank you for providing a fitting ambience for this culminating celebratory event, the Blue Ribbon Class Testimonial Dinner. Your service and culinary delights were both ample and titillating to the town. You have encouraged us to return next year. Thank you. Thanks are also extended to Basil Levine for his fleeting historical review of the Olympic torch and its significance and relevance to Combermere School as we keep the flame burning. We also thank him for his behind-the-scenes work in ensuring the success of this event. We further express appreciation to Paul Messiah and Greenleaf Designs, Inc. for the design and the printing of the programs, which are mementos in themselves. Those of you who have not had a chance to read them now, you can take them home and make sure you read the information contained therein. To the Combermere Week Committee, thank you for this splendid effort in staging another successful Combermere Week and the Testimonial dinner. I want to especially acknowledge the New York alumni who have made the effort to come down to Barbados once again to be present with us for this Combermere Week and for this testimonial dinner. Can I see the members of the New York alumni stand, please? Those who are present here. Do we have any from the London alumni present this evening? I know some of them were here during the weekend at our assemblies, etc. during the week, but I see that they're not here. However, I want to further thank the New York alumni for their very generous donation to the school. They donated some science equipment to the school of very fine quality indeed, a gift of over $12,000 US in equipment, which will be used Master of Ceremonies, I vote for you to be a professional MC. It is time to change your profession. Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, you have made this evening's celebratory event an outstanding achievement. You have come out in your numbers to celebrate two illustrious Combermerians, one by birth and the other by naturalization. But both as teachers of Combermere. Thank you so much. This event would not have been the same without you. To all who have contributed in any way to this outstanding evening of celebration, I say thank you. Up and down.
Thank you, Mr. Paris. And we will now have our final musical tribute. Please welcome Mr. Farrakhan Stevens and Mr. Dwayne Gill. Ladies and gentlemen, our countrymen waiting you, country of talent, and their leader, Peter and Major, Colonel Farley. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding and turn to page 14 in your booklets, where we will invite you to repeat the Combermere Pledge. The Combermere Pledge. As loyal sons and daughters of thine, dear Combermere, around thy banner do we take our stand, and pledge that ever we do our share to strengthen and uphold thy glorious hand. And as we come to the end of this evening's proceedings, be of fine voice as we raise our voices to sing the school song. Begins right now. We have the Hilton until 1 a.m. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.